NGN's presentation of the Chesapeake Invite brought to you by Elemental Technologies, perfecting the media experience with multi-screen delivery solutions for the modern world, and Patagonia, team sales and discounts for athletes seeking exceptional quality and peak performance.
Welcome to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are here live in Leesburg, Virginia with quarterfinal action of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. We have a matchup this morning between Denver's Molly Brown and New York City's Bent. Brian, what should we be looking for out of Bent today?
Well, Ian, we got a chance to talk to Coach Adam Goff of Bent, and he let us in on a little bit of their history with Molly Brown. They've actually never lost to the team. Played a bunch of close games, and they respect each other as opponents. Like so many other teams, he said that Bent will be focusing on their chemistry and improving their defensive looks. Hopefully they can bring that intensity here on Molly Brown and finish up what they've been working on.
Bent had a very successful first day here at the tournament, notching 3 wins over Backhanded, Heist, and Wildfire. Their only loss came to defending national champion Scandal at the score of 12-8. Molly Brown, on the other hand, went 3-0 with wins over Dish, Nemesis, and Phoenix. And the winner of this quarterfinal will get the winner of the Brute Squad and Heist quarterfinal. So again, my name's Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. Thank you for tuning in Sunday morning and taking part in Next Gen's continuing coverage. After this quarterfinal, we'll have a men's semifinal, the women's final, and the men's final. So a great day of ultimate coverage ahead as we see Claire Chastain starting this game off with the pull for Molly Brown. Centered to Middleton. No. Bent working up the field. Souter Russo. Sends it up further. Reset to Anna Membrino. Around to Middleton. Middleton with a nice inside throw. Up to Lexi Zalk. Bent on the goal line now. Nice inside throws by Middleton, helping Bent carve up yardage up the field. Middleton again, and that throw a little too far inside.
It's going to be Sally Lambert on that D, potentially goal saving.
Chastain swings to Doan. Back to Chastain. Lots of lane poaches here from Bent. Back to Lambert. Over to Chastain. To Doan. Lambert. Lambert with a deep shot to Lindsey Cross. And that one's going to put Molly Brown in the end zone for the break and the 1-0 lead. A great deep shot. A great point from Sally Lambert, who gets the block in the end zone and shoots deep. So we get another look at that block. That throw from Middleton a little too far behind her receiver. And Middleton with a great outside-in flick up the line to Lindsey Cross. So Molly Brown takes a 1-0 lead. As we take a look here at the players to watch for Bent, we have to start with Liz Middleton. She's coming out of Dartmouth, a longtime veteran of the women's club scene. She had experience with Godiva. As you see, she's going to be the center point of that offense. Other player to watch is going to be Cassie Wong. She was injured at Nationals last year, had ankle surgery in the offseason, but she's looking forward to coming back and being a strong leader for Bent this year. Our game is being observed today by Mitch Dangler and Brett Matsuka. Mitch has extensive observing experience. Brett has extensive playing and observing experience as well. Applegate set to pull for Molly Brown. Brian, conditions a little different than yesterday. We haven't seen the wind be as much of a factor yet this morning.
Right, Ian. The wind yesterday let Molly Brown run one of their junkier zones that we saw lots of teams have success with.
And there's a great shot from Lauren Doyle into the end zone for Bent. Another nice huck-off movement, continuing the pattern that we're seeing yesterday. And a nice, easy hold. That's the confidence that Bent's offense needs after getting broken on the first point.
Right, Ian. And going back to those weather conditions, yesterday was tough for a lot of teams, getting surprised by a couple gusts, maybe having a few 50-50 discs not going their way. Molly Brown really was able to capitalize using their junky defenses and some consistent offense from good throwers like Chastain.
So let's look at the Molly Brown players to watch in this game. Brian, if you're talking about Molly Brown, you got to be talking about their biggest addition, Claire Chastain.
Right, Ian. Claire's new this year, but definitely not new to being a big star on teams. She has powerful throws, amazing defense, just a real anchor. Next, we're going to talk about Lindsay Cross. She's a big athletic cutter downfield. She's been reeling in a lot of goals this weekend for Molly Brown. Let's look for her to continue her success here against Bent.
So this quarterfinal matchup at the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge is tied up at 1. Molly Brown started the game off with a break, trying to get the monkey off their back and get the first win against Bent in program history. Centered to McDowell. McDowell with a high release backhand over to Applegate. Up to Maggie Chen. Maggie Chen resets to Carolyn Matthews, one of Molly Brown's captains. Matthews up to Applegate. A nice dishy to McDowell. Up to Dory Franklin. A nice gainer there. And she's going to shoot up the line to Megan Cousins. Great use of four-side space after a slow start to the offense there, Brian.
Yeah, Ian, really easy to work it up. Molly Brown not troubled at all by any sort of wins. We saw great offense from them yesterday, and they're really using some great offense today here.
Megan Cousins, a veteran of the Women's USA Under-23 national team. And as Molly Brown takes a 2-1 lead here, we're going to look at the elemental keys to the game. Brian, you talked with Adam Goff before the game. What did Bent need to focus on?
Sure, Ian. He knows that Molly Brown has some great throwers, and so he knows that the deep game is going to play a big part of their offense. If they're going to want to have success in this game, they're going to need to be able to shut down those deep throws and force those cutters under. They're also looking to polish up their defenses. They have a number of looks, but they're looking to get a little more success out of a couple of their more complicated schemes.
Molly Brown is looking to get the proverbial monkey off the back, having never beaten Bent in program history. They need to maintain some mental focus and not let that distract them. They also need to build on their momentum from a successful 3-0 game, 3-0 day yesterday. So Molly Brown leading 2-1 here in the quarterfinals. The disc is centered to Middleton. And here, Brian, we see that Molly Brown zone that was so successful yesterday.
Right, Ian. This is a four-man cup variety of zone. It's designed to make these throwers just have to throw a number of short throws. Maybe not get a D in itself, but make them make enough decisions that eventually, by the law of numbers, they're going to turn one of those easy throws.
Molly Brown transitions out around midfield. Souter Russo with the disc now. Working it up the field. Reset to Membrino. Membrino back to Souter Russo. Souter Russo doing a lot of work on the turn here. Bent on the goal line now. Middleton. And that throw is going to be caught by Sophie Hulbert, one of the bright young stars of the women's college division. She's out of Columbia.
Yeah, Ian, so much patience on the goal line here from Bent. That's been key to players playing on this field with the unpredictable wind conditions. Just easily working back and forth. You're going to find yourself with some open, four-side looks. You keep running, sticking in for the sure score.
Great patience there by Bent's offense. They're able to tie the game at 2, still trailing by 1 break as we get a look at Adam Goff, Bent's coach. He seemed pretty relaxed heading into this game. He said that there was definitely a lot of respect
Absolutely.
between both teams.
Goff is no stranger to Molly Brown. He knows that in their last couple games they've been tremendous competitors. Very close games. He knows that if they're going to want to eke out a win here today and continue on in this bracket, they're going to have to bring their absolute best.
That's Catherine Cole with the pull for Bent. McDowell picks up. Over to Claire Chastain. Couldn't hit Applegate deep. Resets to McDowell. McDowell with a nice high release flick to backhand to Chastain. And she's gonna shoot deep to Tina Snodgrass. And that's a nice easy score for the Molly Brown offense. Great little quick handler movement to get things started. And a nice deep shot off of that movement.
Yep, just more of the same. Exactly what we'd expect from Claire Chastain and Snodgrass. Just an easy open cut. Chastain's able to get that disc in power position from that very nice inside break from McDowell. Puts it on the money for the score.
If we go back to the keys to the game that we discussed earlier, that's definitely not the way Bent wanted to contain Molly Brown's deep game. We had one of Molly Brown's best throwers in power position shooting to one of their stronger receivers.
Right, I'm sure they want to deny that. Easier said than done, though. These handlers can be really quick for Molly Brown. Getting it in power position is such a big part of the deep game that people often don't consider.
So Lauren Boyle getting set to pull for Molly Brown. Boyle heavily involved in the Colorado youth and women's scene, coaching the Colorado women's B team and other teams as well. Middleton moves it up to Ann Silver. Silver resets to Middleton, but there's a call. Brett Matsuka signals pick. Disc is going to stay with Middleton. Middleton with an inside throw that is just a tad behind her receiver. Bacher to Russell. Russell back to Bacher. Over to Russell. She tries to hit Maggie Chen around. This one's going to float for a second, but Chen maintains position and comes down with it. Chen shoots upfield, and that one goes just over Lisa Doan's head. Middleton's going to pick up. Christy Chung on the mark, taking away those arounds. Membrino. Inside, and Bacher is going to get a great run through D. She'll dish it to Russell. Russell tries to lead Chen. And that's going to be deflected. Emily Steggy will come down with it. Back to Bacher. Bacher surveying her options. Throws a nice bladey around. She hits Boyle. Stall called. The disc is going to come back to Bacher. Mitch Dangler trying to figure out if he needs to rule. Believe there's no ruling, and the disc is going to come in on 8. It will be a contested stall. Molly Brown looking to punch in their second break of the game early here.
Yeah, Ian, as we saw with other games, these early breaks can really decide. Teams will spend a lot of energy getting an early break, and then as long as they hold even, it'll put them in a great spot at the end of the game.
Maggie Chen gets the up line. Her teammates shouting at her to get it off the line, but Chen doesn't seem to care. She finds Lisa Doan in the front corner, and Molly Brown gets his second break and leads 4-2 over Bent early on here in the Chesapeake Invite quarters. So we get another look at that possession saving grab by Steggy. The throw intended for Chen, but Steggy followed up, and Chen bailed Bacher out at a late stall and found Doan, who beat her mark to the cone. So Molly Brown leads 4-2. The winner of this game will face off against the winner of the Brute Squad and Heist quarterfinal. Brian, Brute Squad's putting together an impressive weekend, an impressive early season resume with a great performance at the U.S. Open and an undefeated day yesterday.
Right, Ian, they had quite a few impressive roster additions. They have a lot of strong personnel and talent. If they can get that team chemistry up, I would expect huge things from Boston's Brute Squad.
Christina Mickle, sister of Jimmy Mickle, with the pull. Center to Middleton. She finds Souter Russo. Up to Jackie Wang. Back to Cho. Around to Middleton. Snodgrass very close on that D. Dishy out to Cho. Great continuation from movement. Souter Russo pivots and calls a foul on Bacher. Bacher's had a great game so far, getting that last D that helped Molly Brown convert an early break. Middleton sneaks off the around, and another great around. Gets it to Membrino. Membrino up to Russo. Russo's been a force in the cutting lanes. And an inside shot is going to be blocked by Lauren Boyle. Wishful thinking there on that throw. Claire Chastain's going to pick up. She finds Boyle. Dishes to Chastain, who's going to rip a backhand. Snodgrass is there all alone in the corner of the end zone. Credit to Claire Chastain for putting the team on her back after that turn. Threw a few poaches. Started some movement and put up an excellent huck to Tina Snodgrass.
Yeah, Ian, looking like more of the same from Molly Brown. This is what Bent was really trying to stop. She's getting these looks in power position and sending it deep. And when you can put backhand hucks 3/4 of the field on the money like that, it's a great look for your offense.
So Chastain and Snodgrass connect for the second time today. And Molly Brown starting to assert itself here with a 5-2 lead here in the first half of the quarterfinals of the Chesapeake Invite.
Yeah, Ian, looking back at earlier games, these early breaks have been key. A lot of teams have a tendency to do what people call coming out slow, where they might be feeling the other team out, give out a couple breaks, do a couple uncharacteristic things in the beginning of games. And it really ends up hurting them in the long run. Teams will get settled in and trade for a while, and before you know it, it's 10-12, and you're on the doorstep of defeat.
Carolyn Matthews, one of Molly Brown's captains, pulls. We see a new O-line out there for Bent. Disc gets swung to Brittany Kaplan. She maintains possession with a great grab. She'll send it around to Ann Silver. Silver up to Kara Brown. Brown. Pick called. Play's going to stop. Bent's offense working out of a vertical stack on this point. A nice inside throw. And that shot's going to go up to Silver. Can she get there? Despite her bid, that throw is going to be just a yard too far out of her reach. A nice shot to the break side, just not quite on the money. And McDowell will pick up for Molly Brown. Brian, we saw McDowell be a very calming presence for this Molly Brown offense yesterday.
Right, Ian. A veteran like McDowell, she's really been the heart and soul of the calming, while you have the fire of Chastain in her big hucks and fast movement. McDowell's really there for a strong anchor, always open for the dump, always open for the reset. A great combination in that backfield helped Molly Brown with their very successful offense.
Molly Brown moving the disc very quickly here, looking very composed. Steggy looking for a reset. Back to McDowell. Over to Carolyn Matthews. Up to McDowell. These cutters leaving a lot of space for the handlers to attack. And Christy Chung is going to catch that score at the front cone. And that's another break for Molly Brown. And Denver now leads 6-2. And with that break, New York Bent is going to take a timeout. And we will be back after a word from our sponsors.
We're back. Coming out of this Bent timeout, we're going to go ahead and take another look at what Molly Brown's been doing that's been giving them so much success early. You see their cutters set up pretty far away from the disc. That lets their handlers get creative, use a lot of that middle space to get open in power position. Here we see the disc being swung up using the foreside. The space allows big, long handler cuts for easy dumps and easy upwind motion.
Great work there by Molly Brown's anchoring handlers, Tina McDowell and Carolyn Matthews. Molly Brown with a commanding 6-2 lead here in the first half in the quarterfinals of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite. A reminder that we will have 3 more games for you today. A men's semifinal, a women's semifinal, and the men's final. Hopefully you'll be able to tune in with us.
Now, Ian, this has to be what Coach Adam Goff was talking about when he wanted to stop those deep shots. Molly Brown's had a lot of success on the huck, probably more scores coming from hucks than not hucks. I wonder if there's any adjustments to be made.
Yeah, if I'm Goff, a lot of that success is starting in the handler space, with handlers getting power position, with handlers breaking the mark to provide open throws. I'd focus on my marks and my dump defenders to limit those looks. Middleton. Membrino. Lindsey Cross with some great defense in the cutting lanes. Membrino. Zalk. Jackie Wang. Up to Souter Russo. Pick was called. Nice work by Bent to get the disc off the sideline there. Membrino up to Wang. And Wang's throw is going to fall into the turf. Lambert, who had a great block and deep shot earlier, looking to reset, and a tight space to Claire Chastain. Back to Bacher. Bacher swings to Lindsey Cross. Cross looking for a reset. Great move. A little hesitation and then upline by Bacher. She's going to be unmarked for a second as the disc will be tapped back in. Bacher looking at her options. Resets to Chastain. Around to Lindsey Cross. Cross up to Megan Cousins. Cross finds Sally Lambert. Cousins finds Sally Lambert. And back inside to Megan Cousins. She wasn't quite expecting that throw. But there was contact on Sally Lambert's release. So that disc is going to come back to Lambert. Bacher attacking the upline space. She's had a lot of success in that movement on this point. And she finishes it off with a nice grab for the goal. Molly Brown now in total control, up 7-2 here in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, Ian, like we were saying earlier, this isn't really what we expected from these teams. Both of them finishing hot in pool play, especially with Bent's history against Molly Brown. Do you think Molly just found the secret here, or is this Bent maybe with the nerves, maybe with the Sunday morning jitters?
You know, I think Molly Brown's additions and their early season chemistry are actually making a big difference so far. Now the question remains, will Molly Brown be able to close this out? Because in one of the other women's games we saw yesterday, Ozone had a commanding lead on Schwa, only to let the gap close to 3 goals. And with that, we are at 7-2. We've reached halftime here. We will be back in 10 minutes with the second half of Molly Brown and Bent in the quarterfinals of the Chesapeake Invite. Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 USA Ultimate Triple Crown Tour. We are bringing you live coverage from Leesburg, Virginia of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite Pro Elite Flight Challenge. I'm Ian Toner. I'm joined by Brian Kiernan. Brian, we saw a first half dominated by Molly Brown, and we have one correction to make. In the first half, we were talking about how Molly Brown had never beaten Bent in program history, but in fact, Bent has only emerged on top in the last 2 years. There was a consolation game at Nationals a few years ago in which Molly Brown beat Bent. So we get the second half started here with a pull from Bent that's going to sail out of bounds, close to coming back in.
Now this will give Molly Brown great field position. Can't be what Bent was looking for out of the halftime.
Observer Mitch Dangler is going to indicate that the disc will come in at midfield. We have Gene Russell, a young player, still in school playing for Colorado Cali. Back to Russell. Swings to McDowell. And we see some junk here from the Bent defense. Emily Steggy. Over to McDowell. McDowell around to Chastain. Chastain with a nice around backhand to Steggy, who continues to sally Lambert, who elevates for the great grab. That's a nice start to the second half for Molly Brown. More of the same, great handler movement and patience. And Molly Brown now leads 8-2.
Right, Ian, a commanding lead. It looks like they're well on their way to the next round. Bent looking a little downcast here. Can't help but to wonder if some of them are trying to figure out how this game got so out of hand. There's certainly a lot of energy when they're on the field, but it just hasn't translated to results on the scoreboard.
So the winner of this game, looking likely to be Molly Brown, will face off against the winner of Brute Squad and Heist in the other women's quarterfinal. And right now, Brute Squad just scored an offensive point to take half 7-5 on Heist. We'll try and keep you updated on that game as best we can. Christina Mickle getting set to pull for Molly Brown. Adam Goff seeing how much he can test Mitch Dangler and staying on the field as long as he can. This gets centered to Membrino. A wide open under on the first cut. Reset to Membrino. Up to Aki Young. Souter Russo. Been cutting hard all game for Bent. And here's a Blady shot up to Lexi Zalk, who elevates for a great grab. Nice movement there from the Bent offense, making a lot of space for their cutters like Souter Russo and Aki Young to get open, and a great finish there by Lexi Zalk.
Yeah, I'm sure Bent's really pleased to finally put something on the board. A little confidence boost. It's just being down by so much, things are often hopeless. You get good movement like this. Excellent layup by Tucker. She's going to look to put it deep. See if Bent can continue their run. Maybe get something going here. Bring the game within manageable reach.
So it's 8-3, Molly Brown leads. Brian, as we were talking about earlier before we went to halftime, we saw one game that we thought was out of hand get a little closer than we expected yesterday.
Right, Ian, you must be talking about that Ozone Schwa game. Schwa rolls off 4 breaks after being down by in excess of 6 or 7 points at the end. You got to be wondering what was really going on there. Game was at 12-6, ended up at 13-10, perhaps maybe 13-11 was the final score there. It's just some of these teams, when it gets too late, that energy is usually better spent on focusing in on getting early game breaks and letting your momentum carry you through to the end of the game.
So Bent will pull. Bacher with the nice kick block to field the pull. And we see a wide zone from Bent. Good quick movement from Molly Brown early on. A nice cross-field shot is going to make it all the way to Maggie Chen. Franklin. A nice inside shot to Cousins. Chen sends a flick deep to Doan, but Cassie Wong is going to be there to make the play. That throw just didn't quite have enough on it, and a great layout block.
Lauren Boyle just on the spot there for the Molly Brown defense here.
Dory Franklin to pick up on the sideline. Megan Cousins initiates. A nice break throw to Maggie Chen, who shoots into the end zone. And Cassie Wong is there again for her second end zone D in as many possessions. As is Lauren Boyle.
I have some deja vu here, Ian. It looks like another end zone D here.
And Dory Franklin's going to shoot deep. And we see a nice block from Catherine Cole. Swing to Michelle Ryback. Back to Ryback. Around to Cole. And the deep shot comes up late. It's a backhand. Silver can't quite read it. Two Molly Brown defenders in the area, Boyle and Cousins. Boyle picks up, finds Franklin. Bacher. Bacher shoots deep. Bent's gonna have a shot at this one, and they'll get the block. That's Michelle Ryback. Brittany Kaplan shoots deep. And Megan Cousins comes in late. Megan Randall had position, couldn't quite come down with that one. And Bacher is going to pick up and call a timeout. Molly Brown leads 8-3. We will be back after a word from our sponsors. Welcome back to Next Gen's continuing coverage of the 2014 Chesapeake Invite. We are here in the quarterfinals of the women's division with a game between Molly Brown and Bent. Molly Brown in control right now, leading 8-3. I'm Ian Toner, joined by Brian Kiernan. This has been a long point with a number of Ds by Lauren Boyle and Cassie Wong, and we see a great D by Megan Randall after Molly Brown's fourth attempt to break. Bent swinging outside the end zone. Catherine Cole over to Ryback. Ryback looking for a reset, and Bacher there with her second D of the game. Dory Franklin finds Boyle, pumps the deep shot, finds Megan Cousins. Up to Chung. Chung to Maggie Chen. Chen trying to reset to Dory Franklin. And that throw goes off Franklin's hands, and Cassie Wong takes off. The throw is going to go up from Cole. Wong with an incredible layout, but she can't close her hand on the disc.
It's turning into quite the point, Ian. We've seen many Ds, many turnovers. People kind of rushing their open deep shots here.
Chen finds Bacher. Cousins unguarded underneath. Two receivers deep. She finds Franklin underneath. Doan churns underneath. And she shoots deep up the sideline to Christy Chung, who goes up and makes the grab despite pressure from Michelle Ryback. A great grab from Chung, her second goal of the game, and Molly Brown now leads 9-3.
And we've seen Chung just play huge, much bigger than her actual size. Kind of a deceptive deep threat here for Molly Brown. She has the speed to go deep and then really gets up.
Great strong positioning. Goes up with power, makes a great grab. So Molly Brown wins the never-ending point, even after a timeout. Got to be a backbreaker for Brent. Let's see what kind of fight they have left. Molly Brown still throwing a lot of talent on the field here. Throwing a traditional O-line out there. We see Carolyn Matthews, Tina McDowell, Lindsay Cross, Claire Chastain, Tina Snodgrass, Applegate, and Emily Steggy, excuse me.
Yeah, Ian, I'm wondering if there's gonna, in an effort to conserve energy, sort of throw some really talented lines out and try to close this game out early and get a break before the next round.
Chastain with an IO backhand. Sails just out of bounds. Brian, we were talking about this earlier, about the wind not being as much of a factor in today's rounds. Haven't really felt that much pressure so far from it.
Yet we've certainly seen a different style of play, more high-scoring games. a lot more pass completions, thrower connections. Certainly better for the players to play in as far as morale goes.
Souter Russo gets the first under. And here goes a deep shot to Sophie Hulbert. She's on the goal line. Hulbert pivoting, looking for a reset. And a late stall hammer is going to go to no one. Great circling mark by Tina McDowell. That's her veteran experience pressuring the younger player there.
Yep, and here you see her work under for the under. Just tireless, calling out her receivers. Here's Applegate, can dump it off to Chastain for the huck. And surprise, surprise, Chastain will put it deep, right on the money to cross. Those are our two players to watch hooking up in the end zone.
Claire Chastain with her third or fourth huck off of movement in this game, and that stacked line gets a goal line stand and a very quick and efficient break. What's it? So Molly Brown leads 10-3. They're in control here. They will face the winner of Brute Squad and Heist. Brute Squad currently leading Heist 8-5.
Now, Ian, with as well as we've been seeing Molly Brown play at this tournament, and as well as we saw Brute Squad play in their last tournament, that's got to be one of the biggest games to watch here on the women's side, if indeed Molly Brown comes through and Brute Squad comes through in their game.
Absolutely. I think Molly Brown's even taken it a step up from yesterday.
We certainly expected this to be a closer game than it was. Looks like there's really no stopping this Denver, Colorado team.
Carolyn Matthews, one of Molly Brown's captains, getting set to pull. Souter Russo with another under for Bent. She's been cutting with a very strong manner all game. And a deep shot goes up. And Lexi Zalk is going to hit her target in the end zone. That's a hold for Bent. They trail 10-4. So we get another look at this great deep shot. Well executed. Nice bend. Putting it to the back of the end zone. So if you're Adam Goff, you need to find a way to inspire some kind of confidence in your team, Brian. There are only so many strategic adjustments you can make to inspire Bent. We're definitely seeing a lot of energy on the sidelines.
Yeah, Ian, a real tough job for a coach. The team's really bought in. They're cheering on the sideline. As we'll see this pull. Bending almost out of bounds. He'll stay in though. Bacher picks up, looking to center to Chastain.
A three-man cup here from Bent. Interesting transition from Bent's defense as the disc goes up to Dory Franklin, back to Chastain. Bacher to Chastain. Chastain unmarked. And Dory Franklin won't be able to hang on to that one.
That can't be part of the Bent game plan to leave Chastain unmarked.
Yeah, not sure if that transition was as effective as they wanted it to be, but they did get a turn. Brittany Kaplan makes a possession-saving grab. She shoots up to Catherine Cole, who it goes off her hands, and Bacher comes down with it. Bacher with a great hammer, looking for Christy Chung. A nice bid. It goes off her hand. She can't quite get there. Kaplan to Wang to Ryback. Up to Wang. Cassie Wong adjusts, comes down, finds Megan Randall, continues to Cole. Around to Silver. Silver with a lot of time and space. Resets to Cole. Cole to Kaplan. Kaplan shoots to the front cone. It's just too far for Cassie Wong. Great movement there from Bent's offense. Working the disc up the field. Claire Chastain's going to pick up. Will she get another hug from movement? She's had a few already today. Lots of space. Great positioning from the Molly Brown cutters. Chastain looking for a reset. It goes off Lauren Bacher's hands. Bent's got the disc in the red zone now. And that throw just a tad too low for Cole. Bacher picks up. Over to Chastain. Chastain finds Snodgrass. A powerful deep connection so far this game. Nice inside upline to Bacher. Bacher, a low crossfield shot to Chung. Just outside the end zone. And Chung with a nice high release backhand to Christina Mickle. Chung is exhausted, but she's worked really hard on that point, coming close to making that hammer grab. Molly Brown converts and leads 11-4 in this quarterfinal.
It's got to be disappointing for Bent. They were able to get a turn on the goal line. They had all but 15 yards to the score. It really is, at this point, a lost cause for Bent, as Molly Brown only needs 2 more points to score. To win, rather, excuse me.
A reminder that the winner will play Brute Squad versus Heist, but let's take a look back now at the Patagonia play of the game. This happened in the first half. Claire Chastain catching a dishy and throwing an excellent deep shot to Tina Snodgrass for their second deep connection of the game. A nice break for Molly Brown early on. Incredible huck from Chastain. That's our Patagonia play of the game. So the winner of this game will go on to face the winner of Brute Squad and Heist in the semifinals. And right now, Brute Squad leads Heist 9-6 in the other quarterfinal. Christina Mickle getting set to pull for Molly Brown. Doyle with a nice inside shot to Zalk. Molly Brown a little confused on the force. Souter Russo. Doyle. Doyle, great inside throw to Souter Russo. Pick called, but she's going to keep the disc. Souter Russo will be unmarked just outside the end zone. And Zalk, after a few moves, is able to get open, and the throw goes just past the arms of a bidding Lisa Doan. That's a tough spot, Brian, when the thrower is unmarked, the defender's on an island, and there's a lot of space for the cutter to move.
Yeah, Ian, this is actually an incredible job here by the defender. You don't want to lose sight of your cutter. You also kind of want to keep an eye on the thrower. When one of them's going to be at your back, it's a really tall order, not just inches away from the fingertips of an outstretched Doan. So we'll see here. Great effort, but Bent does get a much-needed score.
So Molly Brown leading in the quarterfinals, 11-5 over Bent. Brian, we talk about the difference in leadership between these two teams. Bent has a very interesting coach in Adam Goff. And Molly Brown is entering a year without a coach after they had used the leadership services of Kat Wilson for the last few years, the former Mama Bird coach. And they're relying a lot more on player and captain-driven leadership this year.
Right, Ian. It's definitely the convention in high-level club play to have a coach, a non-player figure that's able to call lines objectively, get a non-fatigued view of the game, and sort of help with administrative tasks. This Molly Brown team, without a coach, says that their new scheme is letting all of the players buy into the team. Builds team unity. When everyone's in for the cause, it'll translate to big plays on the field.
So that bent pull is going to sail out of bounds around midfield. Carolyn Matthews, known better as C in the Colorado Ultimate community, is going to pick up the disc. There's a dispute about where the disc went out. Disc is tapped in and swung to Russell. Back to Matthews. Around to Boyle. Franklin. Chung. Matthews. And Chung and Matthews not quite on the same page there. Cole will pick up a nice around backhand. Christy Wong finds Cole. Cole looking for Silver. That throw is going to make it to the turf. Franklin picks up. Chung. And that throw to Franklin, not sure if there was contact there, but Chung doesn't make any call. Cole's going to pick up for Bent. Close to midfield. Great mark by Matthews, taking away the around backhand. Throw to Wong was complete, but defender Boyle got picked before Wong got open. Cole finds Wong again despite Boyle's pressure. Cassie Wong gets the next under. And an upline in crowded space to Ryback. Ryback fakes the hammer. Wants to reset to Cole, but she's covered well by Matthews. High release backhand gets off. And there's an around to Kara Brown. Another around to Martha Gregory. Inside to Silver. Silver just too far for Cole. And Franklin will pick up. Matthews gets open under. Surveys the field. Dump to Russell. Russell up to Steggy. Chung covered underneath. Reset to Russell. Around to Matthews. Matthews to Boyle. And that throw for Chung is going to go into the grass. Bent will have another opportunity here to close the gap. They trail 11-5 here in this quarterfinal. And Cole's throw for Wong a bit too far. Boyle tries to lead Russell, but Matthews is there, and she shoots across the end zone to Steggy. And Molly Brown ends this long point. Bent with a number of chances in the red zone, but Molly Brown converts to go up 12-5.
Ian, I'd be surprised to see Molly Brown throw anything but a strong line here. Judging from how they've been calling these all game, they'll probably want to close this out quick. Even though it's a D-line, I'd expect to see some of their stronger offensive players here just to make sure they punch things in. There's a little bit of confusion on the field here as the teams believe that was the 13th point. It is in fact the 12th. We'll have at least one more point to play.
So as Molly Brown leads Bent 12-5, we take a look ahead at the semifinals, and their likely opponent is proving to be Brute Squad, who's gone up 12-6. An impressive second half performance by Brute Squad over Heist. We'll keep you updated on that game as best we can. And Molly Brown, just like you mentioned, loads up this line to close it out. We see Claire Chastain, Lindsay Cross, Maggie Chen, Lisa Doan, Tina Snodgrass, Megan Cousins, and Lauren Bacher. Chastain will pull a slight breeze. Membrino, Middleton, Doyle, Sophie Hulbert, resets to Doyle, Middleton, Souter Russo with a great grab, Doyle, Sophie Hulbert, resets to Doyle, and a tremendous grab by the Bent receiver at the front cone. Nice little move in isolation. You notice that Bent didn't transition to vert there and continued to work in their horizontal set.
Yeah, nice play here by Bent. They let their little free-flowing motion happen. Let the offense do what it does best. Come up with some improvised chances. And just, there's no taking away from this grab here in the cone. Full extension, textbook, lands square, keeps it in bounds. Fantastic grab.
So that's Bent's 6th score of this game. They trail Molly Brown 12-6. We're seeing another powerful offensive unit for Molly Brown. The same line that was just out there for the last defensive point. An update from the quarterfinal that will determine the semifinal matchup. Brute Squad leads Heist 12-7. The winner of that, likely Brute Squad, will play the winner of this one, likely Molly Brown. Chastain picks up the disc. Nice high release backhand to Bacher. Snodgrass is shooting deep. And it's a right idea, but that throw was too far to the opposite side of the end zone, and Megan Randall is there to close and stop any opportunity there. Disc goes off the hands of Christina Chambers, who lays out to make the grab, but she launches herself out of bounds. So Chastain's going to pick up with a chance to close out this game for Molly Brown. Get their first win against Bent in 3 years. Here's the throw from Chastain. Maggie Chen's in the back of the end zone. But Kara Brown has other ideas. She goes up and prevents Maggie Chen from coming down with the game-winning score. Brittany Kaplan to bring the disc back in for Bent. Wang. Up to Kaplan. Up to Chambers. Nice upline movement from Kaplan. Crossfield to Wang. Maggie Chen close to that D. And Wang is going to shoot into the end zone to Melissa Kahn. And Bent is not giving up.
A lot of energy on this sideline. There's cheering. They don't think they're out of this.
So Bent narrows the gap to 12-7. Brittany Kaplan really doing a great job guiding the Bent offense on the turn there. Molly Brown now with, I believe, Brian, its third opportunity on game point.
Sure, Ian. Maybe that strategy they'd been employing of stacking a line to try to make a quick end of this game could backfire. If you keep letting these points off, those players are playing just as many points as you would have normally. More traditional O-line coming out here for Colorado. Bent really turning it up on the sidelines.
Bent. Michelle Ryback with the pull. Matthews catches and centers to McDowell. And McDowell's inside throw isn't on the mark. Ryback. Kaplan. Ryback. Back to Kaplan. Kaplan looking at that inside lane. And Megan Randall is there. She's the one who got the poach block. A McDowell's misfire. And New York now only trailing Molly Brown by a score of 12-8.
Now we just heard the soft cap come off. That won't affect the scoring limit in this game, but it is a solemn reminder to Bent that these rounds are time capped. So despite the fight that they can put up, if they want to get back in this, they're going to have to put up those points really quickly in order to come in under the hard cap.
Molly Brown leads 12-8. In this quarterfinal matchup, Molly Brown is on game point.
Just seeming a little too late here from the New York squad.
Credit to Bent for keeping up their energy. As we see across the field, some of the Brute Squad players making their way over. Brute Squad has emerged victorious, and they will face the winner of this game. Appears to be Molly Brown, but Bent putting up a great fight here. Michelle Ryback with a nice hanging pull. Matthews centers to Chastain. Wang on the mark. Martha Gregory very close to a D. Steggy with a nice grab. Molly Brown working around the red zone. Here's McDowell around to Chastain. Chastain back to McDowell. Over to Matthews. Back to Chastain. Inside to Matthews. Great handler movement. Over to Chastain, and Matthews goes up line. And a layout grab from Carolyn Matthews. That's how you close out a game. Molly Brown wins 13-8 on the backs of some great handler movement and performance from Claire Chastain, Tina McDowell, and Carolyn Matthews, who seals the victory with this tremendous grab. So that's going to do it for this quarterfinal. Molly Brown beats Bent 13-8, and they'll advance to face Brute Squad in the women's semifinals. Coming up next on Next Gen, we will have live men's semifinal action. A few results have yet to finish up, and we'll bring you coverage of that game momentarily. For Brian Kiernan, I'm Ian Toner. Stay with us. Come back for more coverage from the 2014 Chesapeake Invite.